Do audiobooks count as reading?
Yes. And no.
There seem to be a lot of fights about this on the internet, and I think many of them could be resolved if people could agree on what they're fighting about. I've realized there are two ways to interpret the phrase, do audiobooks count as reading? And a lot of people don't seem to realize it. The first one is that if someone... This seems to be the most common, based on how people who love audiobooks respond to people saying that they don't count as reading. It's that if the person has listened to a book, it means they can count it as if they had read it, because they remember it, they paid attention, they know what happens. If you quiz them, they can tell you what the book is about. The second way the phrase is interpreted is that the two things are interchangeable. There's no real difference between them. I've even seen people defending this idea by saying that reading is a colloquial phrase, which doesn't seem to be accurate. So a lot of the time when people are arguing about this, they don't start off by figuring out which interpretation they're going with. Because there are plenty of people that they heard that reading by looking at words or listening are interchangeable. And they're upset about words being used the wrong way because words have meaning, etc. So then when they come in and say audiobooks are not reading, the audiobook user gets offended because I remember the book, of course it counts as having read it. They're literally fighting over a non-issue. However, there are people that think that human beings don't retain information very well if we only heard it, which is pretty silly because, believe it or not, humans developed a lot of stuff before we developed writing and reading. So if you're going to fight with someone about this on Twitter or anywhere, maybe before you start fighting, figure out if you can agree on what the definition of audiobooks count as reading is. It might turn out you're just arguing semantics. There are plenty of people that would count audiobooks as reading and acknowledge that listening and reading with your eyes are not the same thing, and they'll be in a fight with someone who also believes this, but because they haven't established what the phrase means, they're fighting over something that they don't even actually disagree on, and it's infuriating to realize this. Anyway, I just wanted to share my thoughts on this because I just spent 3 days with people in my Twitter timeline fighting about whether audiobooks count as reading, and I'm tired of it. My 2 cents is the words are not interchangeable. You can't learn to read by listening, but to say that we don't retain information from hearing things is silly, and it shouldn't even be pointed out. And if you encounter someone who wants to devalue audiobook listeners, they probably should be called out on that because that's not very nice. But just be careful you're not arguing semantics with someone who does think that audiobooks have value. Anyway, have a good one, people. Enjoy your books.